Blog Talk Radio.
The truth is out there. Knowledge is power. This is the Prepper Podcast Radio Network. Are you storing food? Many preppers are storing food for months and years, but only have enough fuel stored for days or weeks. Stretch your fuel storage by harnessing the power of the sun with a sun oven. Food can be baked, boiled, or steamed at temperatures of 360 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit with the power of the sun. Depending on where you are located, you can use the sun for 50 to 80% of your cooking, allowing you to preserve your fuel storage for rainy days. Sun-baked foods stay moister and have less shrinkage and don't burn. Sun-baked roasts are tastier and more succulent, and sun-baked bread has unparalleled taste and texture. Water can be heated in a sun oven for purification or personal hygiene. For the past 25 years, sun ovens have been proudly made in the U.S. They are durable, have a long life, and come with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. For a discount coupon, email podcast@sunoven.com. That's podcast@sunoven.com. This is KPRN-DB, broadcasting worldwide from Southeast Oklahoma, USA, to parts unknown.
This is where Sun Tzu and MacGyver meet the Waltons. I know you can do it. I know you can prep for yourself and for your family. I believe in you. Crisis strikes, you need to reach down and check to see if you got the big boy or big girl underwear on, because you know what, you're going to have to be an adult and you're going to have to step at the plate because you've got people depending on you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is James Smith, the Covert Prepper, with the Covert Prepper Show, heard on the Prepper Podcast Radio Network. And I hope everyone's having a great Saturday, but I do know there's a few people in the Northeast that are not, and our prayers go out to you. I know things are going pretty rough there in New York and New Jersey, but take heart, help is on the way. All information provided tonight is for entertainment purposes or for post-apocalyptic uses. Tonight, it's going to be for disaster uses. It's stuff you've probably heard before. If not, jot it down, because this is the Covert Prepper Show, and you need to have pen and paper handy. Who am I? I'm a former U.S. Navy enlisted sailor, prison corrections officer for medium minimum security inmates, and I was a covert disability insurance fraud investigator for several years. And I currently work for a company that provides support to the disabled, and I'm really hating that place. Seriously, I want all the termites just to let go of their hands so the whole place will collapse. Notice it's because of natural causes, okay? So this is where Sun Tzu and MacGyver meet the Waltons. This is where I show you how to hide your stuff so thieves don't steal from you. I learned it from thieves. Our call-in line is area code 917-889-7908. The Twitter name is @CovertPrepper. The blog is thecovertprepper.com, and you can reach me at james@thecovertprepper.com, and my YouTube channel is The Covert Prepper. You can also listen to the high feed speed, or the 24-hour, 7 days a week feed by calling area code 786-837-2278. And if you happen to be at your computer, just go to prepperpodcast.com, and the feed will automatically start for you. Tonight we're going to be having a new host coming on, Dan V, and he's got a website and a podcast called Homestead Dividends, and he'll talk more about that. If you've got your computer up right now, you can find his website at HDIVS.com. That's Hotel Delta India Victor Sierra.com. We're also going to talk about the latest of the Hurricane Sandy disaster, what's in how to do some food storage before a disaster strikes. I'm waiting for him to call in, and I'm not going to hold my breath. I told them to be calling around 6:15 or so. So we're going to be listening to me talk for a bit. Let me just get the latest news up there that I had. Well, right now, okay, what we know now is that New York and New Jersey basically had their backsides handed to them. And that's not a good thing because it's really humiliating and humbling. And I'm looking for the news stories here. Pardon me as I open them up. And everybody is just calling me. Okay. Just give me a second here. There we go. That's my problem. I wasn't doing it right. But anyways, all this bad weather had struck, and now there's a new storm coming next week. And this could be a bad one. And the cold is coming now. In fact, the Mayor Bloomberg has just warned people about hypothermia, and I'm glad he's doing that. That's a responsible thing to do. But it's going to be ugly, and people are angry, and people are without gas, and people are without food, and that makes people really cranky. Now, I had browsed the Federal Business Online website, and they had said that they had put a request out for 2 million MREs to be delivered no later than close of business on Monday, but they're actually going to be shipped to let's see, a park in New York by the harbor, I guess, and then in Lakehurst, New Jersey, by the way, which is where Hindenburg blew up. And it's 1 million each in those areas, which, if you think about it, I mean, that's a lot of food, but that's not a lot of food. But there is also a possibility of pricing for 4 million servings, if you will, those 4 million MREs. So right now they're calling for highs in the 50s during the weekend along Boston to New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. However, the lows are going to be in the upper 30s to lower 40s. Chilly. And people are going to be cold and going to be miserable. And so that's how you get riots to start. Now, starting next week, the storm that's going to be coming up is going to be nowhere near as strong as Sandy was. But it's a typical storm, and so you're going to have rain and you have wind. Basically just like last weekend. And they're looking at the timing of the storm would be Tuesday night into Thursday. So if you're going to be in that area Tuesday, make sure you vote in the morning. See, that's simple. I'm just trying to see what they're looking at, the temperatures. Yeah, pretty much the same thing. And trying to find that other news story. Here we go. Now, I found this little thing online. It is 7 Things That I Learned from Hurricane Sandy. It's by James Altucher. Pretty good story. I only have the first half, but the 7 things that he says that he explained what happened that day. You know, his family got everything off the ground and up to safety, and then they went to bed and watched a movie. And they came back and was on the basement. But the 7 things that he learned, the first thing is I got to meet my neighbors. In the 2.5 years I've lived there, I've never met them. Now I know their names, and I say hi to them. We smile at each other. Even the woman diagonally across the street who screams randomly into the night in the middle of the street at her baby has come over and asked how we were doing. My pace slowed down. Isn't that important? Just be able to just take a half break and just slow down. And so they're learning what people in the Midwest know. It's okay. The third thing he learned is I learned about my house. I know you use a hammer to kill someone, and that's about it. I'm assuming you hit them in the head or throat really hard. But anyways, he now knows how his house works. And he threw stuff out. So be able to minimize is a good thing. And let's see, for better or for worse, the next thing is clean air. For better or for worse, a hurricane with 80-mile-an-hour winds will recycle all the air around you. The next morning, I have never breathed in air so fresh. The inhalation of the entire planet, I was like an addict for air, soaking it all in. And this next one he learned was things are temporary. The planet rents itself to us. These bodies with their skin and their tears and toxins just rent themselves to us. So he's definitely growing. And the last thing is miracles. All night long, there was a surge past the house. The winds were between 30 and 80 miles an hour on the gust. The rains pounded. The demons were crying down the street into the eye sockets of every house. A few towns away, a boat ended up on the train tracks. When I woke up and went outside, I saw benches from the walk by the river were ripped out of the ground and 300 feet from where they're supposed to be. But I walked outside, and he found his wedding ring that he had lost earlier that day. So somebody had to change their heart, and I had told somebody at work that is one thing that I hope that people in New York have done, is learn to appreciate other people when they have these disasters. Let's take Joplin, Missouri as an example. When that tornado hit, people in New York, I'm sure they're going, oh, that's bad. Okay, can I get a big that? So they're hopefully learning, and they're learning that, when disaster strike, they can have a little empathy. And empathy goes so far in its personal growth matter. And in a way, you're going, well, that's really bad. 45 people died. Yeah, in other places, hundreds of people would have died. But we only had, less than 50 deaths, and that is a good thing. Since 1950, deaths from natural disasters have actually decreased, basically because of better building construction and better warning. And you read these articles and see this in the newspaper where we have no food, we have no water, and you were given a week's notice that there's going to be a storm, and you didn't prepare. You didn't get a few extra cans of soup. You didn't get a camp stove. You didn't learn to make a fire in that week. You didn't sit down and ask yourself, how am I going to prepare? So half of the blame belongs on you. The other half of the blame is on your local emergency management, one, for not evacuating you, two, for not having supplies pre-forward advanced. You knew there was a storm coming. They called it Frankenstorm for over, 4 days. They could have had these MREs already ordered, already on a train, and could have been sitting at your doorstep Monday morning right after the storm. Instead, you have to wait a week. So half the problem is persons that are starving right now, and the other half is emergency management at all levels because they did not go the extra mile. Should they have gone the extra mile? Probably. They didn't. And unfortunately, people are going to be suffering. They'll make T-shirts. I survived Sandy's storm or whatever, Sandy's starvation storm. But it's just life, and it happened. The thing about a grenade is it's perfectly fine on your belt, but when some idiot throws it, you never know that sucker's going to land. But you do know two things: one, it's going to go off, and two people are going to get hurt. And grenades and hurricanes are the same way. You have no idea where that puppy's going to land, but you know someone's going to get hurt. So next time somebody says there's a hurricane on the way, they're probably saying it's going to be coming here. It's going to get ugly. So you probably should prepare. You probably need to have a list of stuff that FEMA has been giving out for the last, 10 years, 12 years? So pay attention. They say, hurricane, you need to go into automatic, I've got to get ready mode. But just wait. Those same people that are in Staten Island right now, dollars to donuts, would say, well, the government's supposed to take care of us. And the governor, Mario Cuomo of New York, had said, FEMA is going to take care. We're going to bill FEMA for the $6 billion worth of damage because it's their fault. We can't pay for this, so the federal government's going to pay for it. got news for you, Mario. Ain't gonna happen. So, tough up. I see we have a caller in queue, so I'm going to assume that it's Dan V. Just get me about 15 seconds while I talk to him real quick. Okay, he is on the air, and let me see if I can find my little intro real quick here. Let's see here. Dan V is many things. He's a father, a homesteader, do-it-yourself enthusiast, prepper, patriotic American. He specializes in maximizing your home value and brings a suburban flair to DIY homesteading and prepping. Along the way, he founded a website called Homestead Dividends, designed to help the average person transform their home into a true homestead and get more out of their home, both while living in them and when it comes time to sell them. Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. It's great to be on the show.
Thank you. So tell us how you can make our homes pay for themselves.
Well, one of the things that I absolutely believe is that even in a down economy, that we always need to be improving and making ourselves and our homes better relative to the situation. So one of the things that I believe in doing to make your home more valuable is, are you making those little things and differences in your home to make it more valuable, to build equity in your home so that, well, it's valuable while you have it and equity grows, but also it's more easy to sell because, of course, one of the things that we always do is we say, okay, it's time to sell the house. Let's put all this money into the house and sell it. But if you are doing those small things along the way, it's not a big shock to your wallet, and you're making yourself, your home more valuable and getting to enjoy it. How many people, they say, oh, well, now I've fixed up this house and it's ready to sell. Gee, I don't want to go. It's so pretty now.
That actually reminds me of a house that we had when I was a kid. My dad spent about 6 months getting it ready to build. And said, gee, this is a nice house, Dad. But we had to move. What kind of changes are you talking about, like garden or
It's kind of a comprehensive thing. I mean, one of the big things that that research shows is that to really add value to a house, you need to really sell to the woman. Women oftentimes buy the homes. It's the emotional connection that they have. And some of the areas that are really strong with women and emotional ties are kitchens and bathrooms inside. And then on the outside, obviously something that is very attractive and appealing with a garden, not a very bare landscape, is also very attractive. And the statistics show that if you appeal to a woman, you're more likely to bring the man with you in the purchase of that house.
Well, one of the things that I suggest to preppers is always to women's vanity when it comes to barter items. For example, body wash, the little poofy shower thingies, for scrubbing, any kind of shampoo, especially the jasmine or chobo, whatever kind of stuff. And, you can barter so much better because, what woman wants to look like Sasquatch?
Exactly right. I mean, attractiveness is important. And, this kind of hits home with me. My father raised me as a prepper since a boy, but the one area that my father was weak was keeping the home attractive, and he lost a lot of value in his home because the house started to get away from him, and he had to spend a lot of money to take care of it and fix it, and it became kind of an eyesore and kind of a problem for him and our family over the years, and it's been really hard trying to get this home back. Once a house goes, it's very hard. But maintenance, if you do the small things, they don't add up into big things, and that's kind of a problem. And you mentioned about prepping in the outside of the house, and one of my big philosophies is I call it permafood. It's not permaculture, but I just say, perennials, things that are going to come back every year that are edible but yet add beauty to your home, depending on your climate and your region, do a lot for your home and for your wallet. One of the things I really believe in, is fruit trees. If whatever fruit trees and seasonal varieties work in your area, they add beauty. They flower in the springtime when many people are selling homes. They put food on the table. There's no pesticides on them. What goes into that ground because you're doing it and treating that tree yourself. So I just think it's a win-win.
Okay, so how about things like strawberries, blueberries? Are we talking something along that line, or just definitely it's like fruit trees where you get your best value?
Oh no, I think you've got to take a full approach. I use fruit trees just up front because I think it's easier to fill in once you kind of have your fruit trees kind of put in place. But I definitely believe in blueberries, and I definitely believe in strawberries. My family actually grew over 1,000 strawberry plants for many years. My dad had a little hobby farm, and both everbearing and cardinal strawberries were ones that we grew on our property. And these things come back year after year, and even with strawberries, they shoot off those suckers, and you get a whole another plant off of them with very little work. Another plant that I really enjoy is asparagus. Now, you have to plant them 3 years in advance because it takes you 3 years to get your first batch of asparagus, but once you do, you've got this wonderful low-carb, delicious side you can put in with your protein every day that's just fantastic.
Okay. So what the bathroom, how can we make this more prepper-oriented? Can we make it more prep-oriented?
Well, it's kind of a catch-22. I would say the best way of making a bathroom or, a space in your house prepper-oriented is simply to make it as attractive, as clean, as utilitarian as possible. So if you needed to get out and you wanted to unload the place, it's valuable to you as far as just being able to sell it. I don't really see necessarily such a thing as prepper bathrooms or a prepper house, prepper rooms, but just making them as valuable as you can so that they become an asset. That's something you can unload if you needed to, if you wanted to change your demographics, move somewhere else. That's kind of how I see it. I'm obviously storing and fortifying your house and doing all those things to make it a safe house or a homestead is obviously important. But, other than just the cosmetic things to add value, I think that's probably where my philosophy lies. I don't think you can necessarily have a prepper bathroom or a prepper kitchen or anything like that.
Okay. And when you say utilitarian, like a utilitarian bathroom, you're not saying like a stark white walls and prison quality material. You're talking just something that's more usable and per se like a gas station bathroom? Exactly.
A utilitarian, something that is clean and attractive that most people would find attractive. I try and stay away from very, very specialized things that might be nice for you but would turn a lot of people off. And, by keeping it attractive and just clean lines, nice fresh coat of paint, whatever color paint you like, everyone appreciates clean fixtures, clean appliances, things modern and, up to date. And, I don't think in terms of, more industrial or, as you said, a garage or a station, fuel station bathroom. I'm not thinking those lines. I'm just thinking keep it clean, keep it simple, appealing to most people.
Okay. How much time does a person, would you think, have to put in like a week in order to make their house, better? I mean, are you saying like this should be like a project every weekend or, a couple times a week?
I think it depends on the person and the situation, but I'm thinking more of maybe one project a month, and if you are once every couple of months. I'm not saying to give up your life and spend all of your time doing this. There's so many things in the prepper community we can be doing, but if you just have a to-do list and you pick a couple of things a year to work on and you just keep chipping away at it, I think over time you keep your house modern and attractive and marketable. And, its maintenance, the maintenance is down because you're taking the time to do the little things to keep it up. And you just don't have that snowball of just at some point where it just becomes too much and you're in over your head.
Right. And what if people are in over their head? What should they do or could they do?
Well, there's a couple things. One, obviously, is you got to think in terms of structural first. If you have structural problems with your house, cosmetic really isn't important if you're worrying about, a beam collapsing or the roof leaking. So, the first thing you have to do is make sure that you have windows that aren't broken and, your plumbing's good and your electrical's safe, you got a good roof over your head. Those are the things where you start. Don't even worry about decorating or trying to make things fancy if it's just structurally not sound. That's where you start. And then from that point on, you want to make sure you have a plan or a vision for what you want it to look like. You may have some great ideas, but if it doesn't all go together, you need to sit down with your spouse or have an idea of where you want it to go. But the first place, obviously, is just if it's not a sound structure, you can't even really worry about those other things.
Okay. And when it comes to like a budget, what's the best way to start in determining a budget? I mean, obviously, I've got this to do and I've got this to do, but I only have this much money. What's the best way to do some kind of budgeting?
Well, the first thing I think everyone needs to do is stop living paycheck to paycheck and always be putting some money away for a rainy day or for an emergency. And if you have a situation where you are constantly spending all that you have, when you have these shocks or these situations where you have to come up with additional money, yeah, it's a problem. But like for me, my family, for instance, I always make sure that I'm holding some in reserve because there is going to be a rainy day. Those cars do go in and you do get in accidents, or the roof does start to leak. So over time, once again, if you're doing small things over time, it's not that huge shock. So once again, a small cash outlay over a long period of time, and if you're planning only several projects a year, I think you can start to budget and see where that money comes from. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you spend like a drunken sailor on Friday night, you're not going to have the money, and I don't really know where to tell you to start. But for people with a common sense approach, I think just saving some money, a little bit over time, putting it away and not thinking about it, it's just for fixing up the house or for emergencies, and that emergency fund is there, I think that is something over time that you can build up and be comfortable with.
Do you have a library of how to do certain things? Like, so for example, if I have to do a little bit of electrical, do you have like a resource on your website where I can find tips or tricks on how to do things?
I do have some places where you can go, and I also give some tips in my podcast. And one of the things I would definitely say is if you don't know what 220 is, you need to call a professional. 220 is a form of electricity wiring that will kill you. So the first thing I say, and even, knowing a little bit about electricity and the different things that I do, there are certain jobs that you need to know you can't handle. And I think that's one of the most important things. If you're a do-it-yourselfer and you have very limited experience and you're just starting out, don't be taking out walls in your house if you don't know what walls are load-bearing. You have to make sure you understand and have a good basis in knowledge. And I do provide some of those things. I have links on my podcast on various topics, as well as a library of resources. I also keep some books, just in my own personal library. But definitely make sure that you're not overly ambitious and trying to do projects you're not ready for. As much as I know, I will never touch a panel, which is where all of your breaker boxes are and your drop that comes in from outside. I know what my limitations are, and I'm not willing to risk my life and my family's income and future on, a do-it-yourself project. So you still have to bring in professionals if you're in over your head. But there are some smaller ones that I think that a lot of people can do.
Such as?
Well, one of the things that I think that everyone can do if they really want to take the time is how valuable is a fresh coat of paint on a house? I mean, just on the inside or on the outside, very, very, very simple. Trim work, adding some crown molding, adding some chair rails, adding some quarter round on your floors in the corners. Just little things like that. It's amazing cosmetically how much value you can add to your house just by doing those little things.
Now, when it comes to like carpeting, are you talking also replacing carpeting, or is there an alternative to carpeting that might work better? Something?
Well, I guess I'm not a huge fan of carpeting, and the reason why, I guess, is because once you stain carpeting, it can tend to be very hard to get those stains out, and they hold a lot of germs, and they hold a lot of dirt. Now, they hold a lot of heat, too. I'm a bigger fan of rugs, which can be clean and a little more mobile. But, I really like hardwood floors or, pre-engineered floors or tile. They tend to be easier to clean and maintain, in my opinion. And if you have carpeting, that's fine. Don't replace it. But at the same time, I think over the long haul, it's much easier to maintain and clean and is a little more sanitary, clean surfaces that are hard surfaces as opposed to carpets. They also don't retain the odors of things from pets and things like that, too.
Yeah, pets are hard on carpets. I mean, just sleeping on one particular spot, I know a dog will just kind of, I don't want to say ruin an area, but he will definitely leave a smell on there.
Right, and one of the first things your realtor tells you is if you have pets, can you kennel them or keep them with a friend for a while to get those smells out of the house? So even if you just have a pet, a cat, they get hairballs or whatever it is. There is a smell associated with them, that isn't wonderful. And if we had a second, I wanted to just share with your listeners some of my core beliefs if we have a minute.
Sure. We have all the time we need.
Okay. Well, just a couple things, and I know we've focused mostly on construction and do-it-yourself and home improvement. I want to just talk with the listeners just real briefly about some of the core beliefs that I have. The first one is that obviously a person's home is their castle. It's yours. You make the ultimate choices and decisions in there and make good choices. It is ultimately your house. If you're not planning on selling, you don't have to have it so marketable, but things happen. And, if you make some choices in your home that aren't wonderful and you get ill or the house needs to be sold, you are kind of digging yourself a little bit of a hole. Some of my other philosophies include, obviously, live as self-sufficiently or reliable as possible. I live in a suburban situation, but I planted, I guess I'm up to about 20 fruit trees right now in my area. And, I try and eat as much fresh fruit as possible, which goes along with my next, one, which is assume that food grown elsewhere is inferior. When you see the E. coli outbreaks and the people getting sick from food and the pesticides and the things that they're putting in our food and the types of food that they're engineering with genetically modified organisms, you got to assume that if you're, doing it right by yourself, your food's better than what's coming out of some grocery store. And, I also agree that, family comes first. Whatever your family needs, you need to put their needs ahead of other needs that, either society or other people put on you. Don't worry about keeping up with the Joneses. Worry about making a good income and a good life for your family. I talk about being a good neighbor. One of the best ways to be safe is to get along with your neighbors. They look out for you. You look out for them. You can't always love everybody, but if you can get along with them and have a rapport with them, it just makes things so much easier. And, along with that, I always say, always live within the law. People have this idea that preppers are these people that are renegades just looking for a reason to take a gun and cause a problem. And, that's just not true. That's something, that's propagated by the mainstream media. And, we are law-abiding people that actually do everything in our power to make the best community we can live in. So I always emphasize, we're always living within the law. We don't break laws in our community, and we shouldn't encourage others to. Assume a disaster is going to happen and prepare accordingly. I mean, look what just happened in New York City and on the East Coast. I went through part of that, and I was in Pennsylvania at the time when a hurricane hit, and I can tell you that, having, even though that was our bug-out home, our vacation home, having all of the materials that we had on hand made it just so much easier to get through, and we didn't even get hit hard where I was. But a disaster is going to hit. You may not think it, you may not plan on it, but it's going to happen. It can be a tornado, a hurricane, an earthquake, a fire. There are just so many different things that can go wrong, and not all of them are even natural disasters, but you have to be prepared for emergencies. I say don't prepare for a specific one. Have an idea that there's some general things that will work in just about every emergency, and I think you probably agree with me. Hey, flashlights, water, filtration, emergency backup shelter, things like that. I mean, they can work in just about every emergency. And then, I talk about acting in terms of what grandmother or grandfather would do. Our generations before us usually lived within their means, didn't rack up ridiculous amounts of debt. And if they didn't have the money, they didn't buy it. They didn't mortgage their future on, material items. And, grandmother and grandfather, for the most part, most of us had grandparents that had good heads on their shoulders, and, they knew what they were doing. And so if it wouldn't make sense if you're explaining what you're going to do to grandma or grandpa, I have a feeling you may have to recheck your idea or your philosophy on something. I talk about improving the utility of your house, which we've already talked about, and making your house more beautiful. And then just the last few, I talk about avoid paying into the system as much as possible, grow your own food, get involved in do-it-yourself and making improvements yourself if you're capable. Bartering with your neighbor, you have some extra strawberries and they have some extra honey. What a great way of just, passing things on and not having to go outside of your little bartering system. Keep a low profile, stay out of trouble. Just because you're a prepper doesn't mean you need to tell everyone you are. And, be respectful of the people around you and don't be very boisterous. And people need to know who you are, but you don't need to advertise who you are in your neighborhood and make yourself a target or be obvious about it. And then one of the last things I say is there's no one right way to live. These are my values and my philosophies, and if you like them, great. If not, that's okay. Well, that's kind of my long list of core beliefs.
Well, it's short to me, actually.
Okay.
Well, good. You can keep going. That's when it comes to beliefs, the more the merrier. It's a guiding premise to live by. Now, the Covert Prepper nobody knows where I am. I tell everybody I live in Spike Falls within the state of confusion. But I also tell you that I live just down the street from you. I could actually be your neighbor right behind you. So preppers definitely need to keep very, very low profile, because at some point in time, it's going to try to take what we have. There's been guns run on others in New York trying to get their gas and their supplies. So, and
absolutely.
Would you agree with me? 30 minutes of prepping and planning would have blocked New York.
Absolutely. Yeah. You kind of broke up on me, but I think I got. Can you repeat? I think you said 30 minutes of prepping, and then you kind of cut out on me.
30 minutes planning, prepping would have saved a lot of problems.
Absolutely. 30 minutes of prepping, and if you could focus or give yourself 30 minutes of prepping a week, or 30 minutes of prepping even a month for these people who are just starting off with baby steps. Just think of what you could do and what kind of a system of support you could have for yourself if you take the time. But once the disaster hits, it's in most cases it's too late, because you're fighting against everyone else for those few resources that are available.
Right. Well, Dan, how about you close the review up with telling us your website, email if you want to give it, channel or Twitter or Facebook?
Absolutely. My website is Homestead Dividends, but I just abbreviated it because that's long. It's hdivs.com. That's hdivs.com. And on Twitter, you can also contact me that way or follow me. It's hdivs. And if you wanted to contact me via email, it's homesteaddividends@gmail.com. The whole word written out is one word. And I just want to thank your audience and you for having me on today. I really appreciate it, and I hope that people found some of my hints useful. If they are, great. If not, they're worth what you paid for.
Well, actually, you're going to be on my show. You'll be starting on the Prepper Podcast Radio Network. We're just going to read, and it'll be Monday night, and we've got two networks, iTunes feeds, and you'll be on the Blog Talk Radio. People can you getting their downloads from iTunes. We're grabbing your shows starting Monday.
Awesome. That's fantastic.
And then we'll get to every show also goes onto the other network, the other meat stream, if you will, because that goes onto YouTube as well as SoundCloud.
Okay.
So it goes out 4 different ways. And back to different. So I want to thank you for coming on my show today. I do appreciate it, and I definitely will be downloading those and listening to them while people complain all night long.
Well, thanks for checking me out and having me on the network, and looking forward to a lot of great podcasts in years to come.
Oh, definitely. Thanks a lot, Dan.
All right, Jane. All right, bye.
All right, talk to you later. Okay, that was Dan with Homestead Dividends. And like I said, he's going to be starting Monday. I'll be pulling his shows right off his website and be hearing him on starting, Monday. All right, so let's talk about what's going on in New York. I talked about 30 minutes time they could have prepared for a disaster, and they could have been doing a lot better than many of them are. Well, I found some websites here, and it's like before a disaster hits. And this will probably take up 10 minutes. But one, make sure you have appliance thermometers in your refrigerator and freezer. Now, freezers need to be at 0 degrees because they're freezing at 0 degree F, okay? And refrigerators should be at or below 30 degrees or 40 degrees to have safe storage for, perishables like lettuce and whatnot. When the power goes out, not if, just assume automatically it's going to happen. Make sure you only consume foods that have been stored at these temperatures. So eat your greens first. Go bad. Now, eggs can stick around on a counter for a couple of days, so you don't have to eat the eggs. Just eat things that you need to get eaten. Freeze containers of water for ice. Ice cubes, ice gel packs will keep food in the cold freezer and refrigerator if the power is out. So let's say you have some of those blue ice, put it on top shelf, and that will, as it thaws, the cool will drop down to the bottom. Also get some large coolers, styrofoam or whatnot, and have those ready. Put blocks of ice in there with pair of foods that are refrigerated to warm. Now, then use these blocks of ice for drinking water. So if you put a pan, like a cake pan, and you fill it full of water and you put it on the top shelf. After it freezes, you put it on the top shelf in the refrigerator. Then you have that for drinking water. So if your drinking water is contaminated or available, you can drink. Now, as possible, as soon as possible. Refrigerator items such as milk, cheese, and meat to the freezer. Now, this will help stay at the safe temperature longer. Also, group food together in the freezer. It helps to keep the food stay longer. It basically makes the block. Dry foods off the ground. This prevents any kind of contaminated water getting to them. Keep refrigerator and freezer doors closed as much as possible. Maintain the cold temperature. Fridge will keep the food cold for about 4 hours if it's unopened. Keep your freezer full. Fully loaded food in the freezer, will last 48 hours. If it's only half full, about 24 hours. And then cook all your foods first. If at any point the food's been above 40 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 2 hours, you need to throw it out. That's one. And the other one. Let's see. A lot of people have just basically repeated the same thing over and over again. All right, we'll talk that one in just a minute. And okay, so now that was what to do before a disaster strikes, and this is basically for the non-prepper. When you have preppers, we like to store foods way ahead of time. So how's a good way to store some of this food? Now let's start with rice. Now rice is an excellent source of complex carbohydrates, which means it has starches. Now it's also gluten-free. And then how do you store it? Well, you store rice in number 10 cans with oxygen absorbers. And it works really well. You can also store them in Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers. Now, some people have recommended putting rice in the freezer for some period of time prior to canning. I think that's actually to shrink that sucker down just a little bit more. And it's a good little product, so you may want to consider getting some rice. And it does hold its value, its edibleness and nutrition for about 30 years if it's properly stored. Okay, now storing cans. If in your pantry, do not store cans directly on metal shelves. Metals will react with each other, and then you will get corrosion. A cool, dark place is best. Don't store them where they'll freeze or get very hot. Storing dry foods, basically, you're looking at number 10 cans with oxygen absorbers. Let's see. Now, if you've got a problem with vermin, definitely use cans. Do not take the food out of the original containers and put them directly into a white trash bag. You leave them in the original container or put them in the food storage bag before placing them in white trash bags. Why white trash bags? Because you can put these into big containers. It makes it so much easier. Let's see. Like I said, it'll be really quick. Let's see. Now, I've been to stores that have got these, it's the bulk foods part. And the bulk foods basically are like the soup base into the powder, and then you put it in the plastic bag, and then you weigh it. It's like 35 cents an ounce or 35 cents a pound or whatever, and that way you're able to stock up. They also have pasta this way. They have candies. They have peas and other kind of lentils. This is something you can look for, and they're usually just in these big containers. Actually, they're half containers, and they just refill them as they need to. You can find graham crackers in there, graham cracker flour, regular flour, rice flour, wheat flour, buckwheat flour, and so these bulk foods are good. The last time I saw a place was like this was Oregon, and it was Food for Less, or as I used to call it, Food for Your Mom. And so Food for Less is a place, I think it's known as Winco Foods. And so if you can find somewhere that's got foods that, call them and say, I'm looking for bulk foods like soup mix or candies. And they'll know if they've got something like that. But definitely consider hitting the places to stock up on food. And when you do get the food container, a food storage bag like a Ziploc and an ox absorber, and put it away in a safe place. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of it. I forgot to do two little things, so what I'm going to do is play these two little ads real quick, and then I'm going to do the outro, and then we'll call it a night. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the weekend. I've got a little work to do. I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm only going to do a little work tonight before dinner, and I'll talk to everybody later. So all this week.
Are you sick and tired of having your First Amendment harassed or censored on Facebook? Use no more, as we now have a new alternative to Facebook. It's called Awareness Act. Awareness Act is a social network designed for patriots, to be used by patriots, and is ran by patriots. Stand up and help in the fight to protect your constitutional rights. Patriots can create pages, blogs, videos, documents, articles, and so much more. We even have a unique news feed system that allows you to share, read, or connect with any patriot on Awareness Act. We are a dedicated tool for patriots to use against the tyranny our Constitution is facing. So if you're tired of having your rights infringed upon, come check us out at www.awarenessact.com. Again, that is www.awarenessact.com, the social network for patriots, not potatoes.
Have you ever wanted to generate your own supply of electrical power, even save money on your electric bill? If so, this is going to be the most important message you will ever hear. Solar power generators are now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. Unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running quietly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, and even keep your food from spoiling. Whether it's hurricanes, ice storms, brownouts, or blackouts, you'll never suffer through painful power outages again. And here's the best news, a remarkable fall truckload sale going on right now that gets you $1,700 in bonuses when you buy a solar generator. To find out why solar generators are the best generators and get $1,700 for doing so, go to falltruckloadsale.com. That's falltruckloadsale.com. Generate your own supply of electricity. Go to falltruckloadsale.com. That's falltruckloadsale.com.
Warning, the unprepared may not survive the next natural disaster, terrorist attack, or economic collapse. In light of recent global unrest and natural disasters, we bring you this urgent message from David Morris, author of the acclaimed Urban Survival Course. Because this message is urgent, we won't waste time on the why you should act now. You already know why. It's the very real and growing dangers reported in the media every day. Now it's the what you must do. Go to myminisurvivalcourse.com and claim your free Urban Survival mini course that will prepare you for breakdowns in civil order. Today, David Morris is offering you instant access to his 7-part Urban Survival mini course at myminisurvivalcourse.com. You should already be at your keyboard. Enough talk. Act now while you still have time and while it's still free. myminisurvivalcourse.com. myminisurvivalcourse.com. Or call 1-866-558-1040. 1-866-558-1040. You'll be glad you did. You're listening to KPRN-DB in Southeast Oklahoma.